How can you see into my eyes like open doors, leading you down into my core, where I've become so numb, without a soul? My spirit's sleeping somewhere cold until you find it there and lead it back home. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up. Wake me up inside. Save me. Call my name and save me from the dark. Wake me up with my blood to run. I can't wake up before I come undone. Save me. Save me from the nothing I've become. Now that I know what I'm without, you can't just leave me. Breathe into me and make me real. Bring me life. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up. Wake me up inside. Save me. Call my name and save me from the dark. Wake me up in my blood to run. I can't wake up before I come undone. Save me. Save me from the nothing I've become. Okay, I'll stop here.
Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon, and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be looking at a few games. Well, we're going to be looking at one major game and a few corpses. Like the investigation, I like to LARP this as we're looking at a murder here. A very bad murder, in fact. And that murder is of good taste. Of actual quality content, because we don't get that here. We never get that here. So the first game we're going to be looking at really hard is going to be SCP, the role-playing game. This game is horrible. I just want everyone to know that. The second game is a murder, survival of the able, and the Queen's Cavaliers. Now, these two are odd ducks. These are games that didn't make it. Well, kind of. Cavaliers technically made it, but not. But what binds these games together? What combines these into an unholy unity? Well, the answer is pretty obvious. Kickstarter, for those who don't know, was a company founded back in, what was it, 2015? Let me check real fast. I believe it was not too long ago. Actually, Kickstarter was founded back in 2009. Wow, that's actually kind of impressive. But back in 2009, this company came to exist. And it cemented itself as a bizarre facet of our, well, the hobbies culture in more than a few ways. And the reason is because it's the only way people can actually afford to play games or make things these days. You have to rely on Kickstarter for them in one way or another, or things like Indiegogo, which can produce some unfortunate results. I got posted right there. Let me just make sure to post it everywhere I need to post this, because Kickstarter, at the end of every curious case for the past while, I've taken a moment to look at Kickstarter, because it is such a fundamental part of the atmosphere, you could say, the industry in more than a few ways. Without this single site, we wouldn't have half of what we have easy. We wouldn't have anything, really. There are entire companies who their entire business model relies entirely on this site. Looking at you, Onyx Path, goddamn you. And there are many others who rely on this to get nothing. However, people like to blame Kickstarter. Kickstarter is the issue, people say. Kickstarter is the problem, because there have been some goofs. There have been some really bad disasters. But we've also got some good games out of it. We've also got a lot of things that are important. Things like Frosthaven. This is a big deal. Kingdom Death Monster, which will never come out. And many other games that have come out of here, which have been successful for one way or another. But we're not looking at these ones. Oh, no. We're not looking at the popular ones. We're looking at the ones that go nowhere. The ones that die in their sleep before they even have a chance to do anything. There are many of these games. It's hard to go over all of them. But the main ones we're going to be looking at today are important to me because of how odd they are. Because of how strange they kind of assert themselves into the greater sphere. And that is Survival of the Able, The Queen's Cavaliers, SCP, the tabletop game, and we're also going to be looking at a company called Third Act Publishing by a man named Jim McClure. This is what we like to call, well, the four horsemen of the apocalypse when it comes to Kickstarter. Games that fail before they even begin, games that succeed but are cancelled later, never to reach the light of day, unfortunate games that come out and should never come out, and finally, games that are funded but will never come out. All of these are odd in their own way. Strange, mysterious even, terrifying to the uninitiated. But that's why we're here. Now, we're going to be opening up with the apex of shit, the SCP game. This game is awful. Like, I'm just going to be, like, really front with you right now. This game is ridiculously terrible. Like, offensively bad in a plethora of ways. Now, I'm ripping into it already without even explaining what's going on. And, I'll show you what it means. Well, the SCP tabletop game is brought to us by... I go up here and try to navigate Kickstarter's terrible, terrible site. I hate this website, by the way. I hate this so much. Oh, God. Where are you? Where's the SCP role-playing game? Where are you? Ah, yes, right here. Now, what is SCP? Well, SCP is effectively called Secure, Contain, Protect, and the Foundation. It's pretty much baby's first Call of Cthulhu without anything going on. The purpose of SCP is for people to write their cool and scary monsters who do cool and scary monster things. I have never gotten into SCP. I don't understand the appeal of it, because I just feel it's kind of dumb. Like, really dumb. It's like, oh, cool, it's right. And people take this ridiculously seriously. And that's one thing I will never understand about it, is that people take this thing really seriously. And let me see if I can find... can I find just a random SCP? Well, let's do Series 4. Let's see what... we want to find a random one. This man... let's do Honu right here. Honu. What's Honu about? Wow, look everyone. It's literally just a picture and a bunch of writing that I don't care about. I'm not invested in SCP at all. And arguably, this game is almost going to be in... Who wants to run Delta Green based off SCP? Yeah, it's... People think you can run a lot of things with this game, with this setting. I don't get it. If anyone could ever explain to me, like, why it's the way that it is, please do. But one other odd thing about this is, apparently there was, like, a splinter in this organization, in this group. No, SCP. You can run anything in Delta Green. I like Delta Green. I don't get SCP. Like, there was a splinter, apparently, in the SCP community. And something happened, I don't know what, and it's kind of caused a schism inside of the community. However, we're not looking at that. SCP, at its core, is an interesting idea, but I just don't really get the point. Yeah, it's an online urban mystery manual. People think it's like this really extensive setting that has a bunch of stuff going on in it. It's like it's a bunch of people's fan fiction writing. It's literally cryptid fan fiction. Oh God. Which, don't let me bully you like, oh, you like SCP. I don't really care. I just care about games. And oh boy, we have a new one here. Now, this game actually made its funding goal by over $30,000. This was a pretty big deal here. 30 grand over. And it was primarily done, and it was brought to life by a man named Jay Keach. And he doesn't really have anything to his name. However, his company, 26 Letter Publishing, is the one that makes this game actually work. Now, they have a little bit of games. The main one being Creepypasta, the role-playing game. they do games such as, they have this drama card system, and what's the other one? Spaceship Architect. Like, they haven't really done much, and I've been very curious of, like, what is this company actually doing? I looked around for them, and give me just 1 second. It's not 26. It's 26 Letter Publishing. Let's see if they have a website. No, they're on Facebook though. Are you on Facebook? Tabletop RPG from 26. Yeah, this apparently gained kind of the it has the indirect appreciation. Yeah, it has the indirect support of the SCP Foundation, which is a public domain website, which you can add whatever you want to it. Now, outside of that, I haven't really been able to find anything on these guys. These guys are very quiet. And their big thing is they like cards, and they like just horror stuff, I guess. Now, one thing I want you to remember is I want you to look at these. These are SCP drama cards. And I want you to remember that these are $3.40 for the basic PDF of these, not the actual cards. Actual cards are $17. And the book itself, let's see what actually the SCP tabletop game book is, $50 to buy just the basic book, or about $20 for the PDF. And yeah, very odd, very odd. But I want you to remember those in your head. That drama card, or how you get things like, this is $12 right here. Like, this is $12. It contains all the different maps and stuff. It's like, all right. All the prop cards, which is only 25 cents to buy the PDFs of, but 7 to buy the full game. It reminds me a little bit of Linksmith. And, like, I'm going to sell $5 for a playbook. Luckily, this is not actually a PBTA game, which I thought was going to be astounding. It uses a custom system. And one of the big things is passion of several years. Rule set is something I'm proud of. Started making role-playing games several years ago, which fluff most RPGs put in their books. We will get to that. Oh, we will get to that. SCP provides you with easy to understand rules first and foremost. The system is rules light, nor is it overly complex. I strive to hit that Goldilocks zone of RPGs. Like everybody does. Everyone hits the Goldilocks zone in their own mind. Do they? That's another question. That's why I'm here. Directors they use the thing of, like, directors, and it's very deliberately trying to put that. Now, remember, the system itself has been play-tested extensively and introduces a drama card system that allows players to temporarily take control over a situation. You do not get this. You do not get the drama cards in the book. You gotta remember that. You have to buy the drama cards separately. Now, the stretch goals are a lot of expanded artwork, initial publishing. Wait, initial publishing assets. What? Website? Oh, you guys have a website? You guys gotta have a website, right? SCP role-playing game. SCP role-playing game website. Come on, give me what I'm looking for. Fear the Foundation? What the fuck? What the hell? Is this another game? Yeah, this is a completely different game. Wait, no. Yeah, no, this is a completely different game. What? What? Nanai? Well then. We accidentally found a different game. All right, I wasn't planned for this. But yeah, there isn't a website apparently for this. It has apparently a large print run, sample maps. It wanted to do the art book for it, but they didn't make that. Wait, $30,000. Yeah, they made that. Look, it's right up here. They made $2,000 over it. Huh, weird. But they were promising a lot. And everyone was like, this is the greatest thing ever. We all love it. And I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's look at the updates. Actually, no, let's look at FAQ. What is SAP? Does this follow? Is this the official game? No. What's this Kickstarter for? Fund the artwork required to complete the book. All right. Why not D20? What's so great about the system? The buy die. All right. How do game rules light? Where are drama cards? Is this canon? How far done? Yeah, the book is done. It's very odd for all these games. And let's see, update about a month ago. Book is available for purchase. I got mine about a month ago. People are asking the same questions. I'm so sorry, Mr. Noble. People are asking the same questions. Like, when's my book? When's this? Hey, Train. Now, it doesn't look like a scam. It's done. It's made. Why not D20? Very popular tabletop RPG, so this question comes up often. The buy-die system developed by 26 Letter Publishing has been used in previous titles, such as the Creepypasta RPG. I gotta find that. Best suits the feel and design for modern horror-based RPGs. Remember that. Horror-based RPGs. This is a horror game at its core. So, let's look into it. Now, this game is fascinating. When they said it is not rules light, they were not kidding. This game isn't simple. And yeah, now mind you, when we're going through this, always keep in mind Call of Cthulhu. And in turn, Delta Green. Always keep that in mind. Keep those two games in your noggin space. Because it's going to make this a lot stranger. So, at its core, it is a dice pool system. Well, it's more like a roll and keep system. So, these are our main people. Jason Keach here. Let me see if he actually even pops up anywhere. Jason Keach. Oh. He wrote a children's book. SCP for Kids came out last month. What? Mr. Keach? You wouldn't be... What? Like, because what? Nani? Yeah, he wrote a children's book for SCP for some... Have you done anything else, sir? Creepypasta, the role-playing game. Memoir of a Soldier. A Happy Marriage Law. A He Said, She Said devotional for couples. Who the fuck are you? What the fuck? No, that was him. That's the weird thing. That has to be him because he has an SCP thing on there. Huh. Weird. But yeah, but why? Like, you're thinking like, oh, it has to be a different guy. No, it has everything there. So these are our key people, original system playtesters. These are real people. These people are not real people. I can tell you that much right now. Mostly because Zorb, and It's Lemon. I don't believe those are real names. And special thanks to Drive-Thru and all these. Discordia merchandise. Like, there's merchandising apparently. The O5 Council. The Discord. So there's Discord. Mindcrank. 26 letter pub, like, this is just them. It just leads directly to there. And, mind you, this is the PDF. This is like the full legit PDF that I extra legally acquired. There's some jank ass looking stuff in here. Like I don't think you guys can probably see it over there. Here, let me just zoom out a little bit. You see those white lines? Yeah, that's just how the book is. A small rundown of what's going on. We are looking at Kickstarter games that are weird and bad and terrible. And cool train. Any Japanese jank? Unfortunately, not today. We're not looking at Japanese jank today. We're looking at Kickstarter stuff. And a lot of Japanese stuff doesn't actually go to Kickstarter at all. Now, the games we're looking at are very odd and very strange. And this was a successful Kickstarter, about 30 grand over what they needed. Quite a bit based off SCP. There's a lot of artwork in here. Now, what's the system? Okay, let's go through all of the Kickstarter backers. Okay, we're making it. Okay, we got to get all the SCP lore in. Okay, we're almost there. Now, you may be saying, wow, this looks really jank. And the answer is yes, it does look really jank. You also will find out they love this. They love it. Because the entire game is set up as if it's supposed to look bad. That's the weird thing about this game, is that it's supposed to look bad. Isn't this also a copyright violation? No, SCP is Creative Commons. Nobody owns any SCP. You upload your SCP to the site, technically, you no longer own it. It's a bizarre open thing where you can't really... It's kind of like how you can't really copyright Slenderman anymore. Slenderman he's open source because he was an anonymous internet shitpost that everyone started doing stuff with. Yeah, exactly. Like, you officially cannot own SCP. Even though apparently there's a splinter faction inside of it. Now, these all look like this. And you may say, wow, Notepad, that looks really weird, of like why everything is over here. Why are all these links here? Because every single one of these links, mind you, opens up a website. These are legit QR codes. Things to Unimpossible Journeys, Reddit, a Reddit link to RRPG, The Beginner's Guide, and a YouTube link. This is a book people paid money for, and you're expected to pay at least $20 for the PDF. 20. Now, the astute observer will also notice there's also a lot of stuff here. Like, what's with all these terms? What's with everything? And now we get to the basic, fun, exciting adventure. At its core, this game is a dice pool system, which dependent on your attributes. Your attributes determine what your stats look like. Give me 1 second if I can find... do I have the blank character sheet? I know I have the blank character sheet. I would be very silly if I did not have it. Front. So, this is what the character sheet looks like. Yeah, because this is a book. You're supposed to scan it with your phone. You gotta remember, this has to be a physical book. But this is the character sheet. This is a pretty bulky thing. Also, thank you, Train, for following. This thing is pretty bulky when it comes to things. And it is very gray. And if you kind of notice, you see these. What they did here was something I do anytime I make shit posts, and they got a background image, put it over there, and just put it behind. That's all they did. It's not exactly a complex thing to do. Now, how this system works is, let's say, I have to make a strength check. And let's say my stats look like this. What I can do is I can roll up to 4d8 plus 2d10 plus whatever my skill is, and I take the top 2. That's it. Yeah, that's how you play the game. It's a roll and keep system. At its core, that's all it is. Very simple, very easy to understand. It gets very complicated though. So you have a difficult child. All right. Now, here are difficulties. Fairly standard. You also have this. Most of the time, your difficulty ranges from 10 to 15. 10, 15, bruh, please. You literally have a thing called the average here. You don't need to put this here. You will see that more. Now we get exploding dice. Exploding dice are by far the weirdest fucking thing in this game. So, we've got our dice. We have our dice here. 4d8, 2d10. Let's say, for example, that's Queen Cavalier. Let's say, for example, I roll an 8 on my d8. I increase it, I roll an additional d10. Everybody laugh at him. Everybody laugh at 5 Steel 2 1 2 3 6 1. Everybody laugh. He's a dumbass. He wants to believe that I want to be famous. Dumbass. Yeah. Usually what happens with exploding dice is I roll an 8 on my d8, I roll the d8 again and I add the result. So my d8 may become a 10 if I roll an 8 and a 2, which is usually the easiest way of doing it. However, because of how the system works, you roll an 8, then you roll a d10. If you roll a 10 on a d10, you roll 2d12. And if you roll a 12 on that, if you roll a 12, you roll a d20 for that. Which in turn means that if you roll a 20 on the d20, you score a nat 20, which is a critical success. This may seem very confusing. And the answer is, because it is confusing, and it's a little bit clunky. But remember, you're always taking the top 2, no matter how many dice explode. But Notepad, what happens if I roll a 1? Well, in this, if you roll a 1, your final score is reduced by 1 for each dice set aside this way. So if you roll a 1, you have to subtract your score by 1. That's it. Like, alright. And then you add your proficiencies. Now, this is where my other favorite part of this game comes in. I adore this. Proficiency ratings are usually not whole numbers and include a decimal point measured in tenths. Your proficiency was at level 0.7, your attribute comes down to 12, your final result would be at 12.7. There are decimal points in the system that you have to track. Now, originally, when I first saw this, I thought this was going to be a comparative results system. I have a 12.2, you have a 12.7. If we score the same, you're going to score higher than me. And you're correct, Downside. This does seem complex. Because remember, you have to compare everything going on here with Call of Cthulhu and Delta Green. You always have to compare those two. Nice, simple D100 system. Because it's going to get bulkier, and it's going to get a lot worse. So, we have, it seems really weird, and like, why? And then you have like, oh, here's the sample explanation. Critical successes and critical failures. Critical success means you have to roll a 20 on the D20. Simple. Except not. If the end result of your attribute roll plus proficiency rating is equal to or greater than the difficulty task times 2, you get a critical success. So if I need to score 10, I score a 20, I get a critical success. Failure is the exact opposite, if it's half of what the value is. But you can also just roll a 20 and get a critical success. There are also 26 knowledges, 22 skills, 16 abilities in this game. And then you also have, if it's not quite the same attribute as what's appropriate, the director will lower the difficulty by a 2. Additionally, the director may ask for general attribute rolls without anything. If it's close, well, of course, you just minus 2 from it, if it's close. And there's interchangeable, and there's assisting in a task, which all do different things. If they have at least one, assisting allows them to non-combat related roles. For each assistant, add 0.5 bonus to the end result. This bonus cannot exceed twice the value of the assisted skill. And then we get definitions. So, you may be wondering, Notepad, what are the skills like? Some make sense, but others are things like architecture. It's not complex, it's just why in this game it's laid out in such a way that it makes it really difficult to understand. But it's like architecture, astronomy, cooking, and then you get things like like religion, visual signs, and sign language, and then writing, swim. Also, wait a second, can I? No, they fucked up here. They fucked up. Because what they did here was, instead of actually making something interesting, they just let you type in wherever you wanted. It's great. Swimming, piloting, pickpocketing, lockpicking, driving, disguising, catch and throw. And then every single gun is different, and everything relies on dex. Dex is the best attribute in the game. Yeah, it's like, oh, we got to be immersive, but... And then you have, like, these are core things that you need, but you don't actually do anything with them. Resist KO, self-control. And mind you, some of these actually play into these. These are your derived attributes, which in turn is dealt with this, which in turn also plays into reverence, which also is factored into these. Like, this game is not simple. If you've never played a game before, this is the last thing I want anyone to play. And let's see, proficiency definitions. The artwork looks nice, I guess. But yeah, here are all of the various parts. And you'll notice the asterisk denotes that this knowledge requires a tutor or unique resource. Standard public resources are not sufficient. This asterisk denotes that this knowledge requires a tutor or specialized instruction. Standard public resources are not sufficient. They say this every single time. Every single time. And it's also like, it suggests that you try to keep this at the level the players would have in real life to prevent metagaming. If a player gets that SCP is the root of the problem, it would reflect upon the player character without metagame interference. You still have to buy these attributes using very limited points. And then it's like heavy artillery. Like, its dexterity is for every single attack. It's dex, not strength, not anything. It's dex. Now you may be wondering, okay, what's strength? Well, you get your melee multiplier, obviously. Melee multiplier, very important. Also, round skill, swim skill down, ignore the decimal, and add half the character's move speed rounded down to calculate the character's swimming speed. Because that's important. Yeah, it's animal cannon, taming, like, there's so much shit. Also, here, jumping is hilarious. To calculate jump height, use the following formula. Round your jump ability down, just ignore the decimal, add 1 point, then add d10. For every d10 or higher in dexterity or strength, add another point. Each point represents half a meter of horizontal jump distance. Half your horizontal jump distance determines your vertical jump height. I think This was not a game made for people. This was a game designed from a group of people who've been playing the same system for years. And they've kept adding things to it without ever kind of taking a moment to reflect on it. This is what I always say of never playtest your own shit. Never playtest it. Always get outside influence on your projects. Because if you don't, you get shit like this. This probably makes complete sense to them. They could rattle off a character in 5 minutes. It took me like a half hour to make a character the other night. Because I had to double check everything. Because it was laid out that poorly. You also have an exertion mechanic, which allows you to... give me 1 second. So, your exertion... spend +1 to add D12 to any strength, dexterity, health, or willpower roll. Not anything else. You're pretty much exerting it to add a D12. But D12 is bad because you can have a higher chance of failure. Now, this is different from Reverence. Reverence is also tied to your attributes, but you can also get it by virtue of role-playing well. Now, also spend 4 to draw a drama card. You don't get drama cards. All your multipliers. By sheer technicality, kicking someone in the face is deadlier than a knife, because melee weapon damage is base, and then you times it by whatever the base damage value is to make it. But it's not, I do 4 damage times it by 3. It's, I do d4 damage, I then roll 1d4 plus 3d4 damage. However, the damage for your melee attacks is based entirely off two of your attributes. So you can kick someone and break their spine without actually having to stab them. And also here's reaction defense, which is this is effectively your AC, but you can also make an action to defend, which is different. Cognitive resistance, cognito hazard, psychic invasion, other forms of anomalous mental effects. Your good boy points, experience points, merit points. Now, mind you, these are all different. Experience points are not merit points. Merit points allow you to advance in the... Let me just scroll down here real fast. In your security level. And then you have to... You fill in all of these, and once you hit full, you reset it down to 0. You increase your security level from... It would be like C to... it would be D to C. Or C to B. Or A, or S, or X, or whatever. I don't know. That's all that is. Oh, yeah, you also have your personnel class. These are very important because these determine a lot of things. Also, keep these in mind. Those are also important. We've finally hit character creation. These are all of the steps. There are 6 steps. However, it really makes you doubt that there are solely 6 steps. There are not. There's like multiple sub-steps, and it's very painful. So, we have to distribute 20 d8 across all 8 attributes. You must fill in at least 1 d8 for each attribute. Make sure you fill them in from left to right. You cannot purchase d8s out of order. Then you get 4 d10 to fill in anywhere that already has a 2 d8 purchased. So, let's make a character. We're going to make Gunman, who does gunman things. So, I'm going to have to distribute my 20 d8s. 1, 2... we'll do that, and let's bump up that a little bit. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then we have to do 19, 20. Now I have to distribute my 4 d10s. Put one right there, we'll put one right there, and we'll put one right in willpower. Congratulations, everyone. Actually, no, that's illegal because I have too many now. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. No, I have 4. This is VTNL tier. And mind you, each of these attributes also does something. So, for example, if I have a D8 in health, I increase my health by 3. If I have a D10, I increase it by 6. But only if you fill in the correct ones, but sometimes these are actually derived attributes from other things. Let's get going. All your starting proficiency values, you literally have to roll a 1d10 to determine your initiative, what the value is, and then you have to buy it this way. Now, when I say by dexterity is the best stat in the game, is that if you have 2d10, you effectively get 24 points in skills, in which you jack up all your guns and shoot everything that you dislike, because guns are really good, because they're guns. Determine all your HP, determine your existence, determine your cognitive resistance, but don't fill it in lightly, because you're going to have to get it adjusted later. Fill in your reverence points, fill in your multiple. Like, there are so much shit. And mind you, these are different from modifiers. Your proficiencies are different from your modifiers for reasons. Now, this is the part that threw me for a complete loop. Now, I want you to take a look up here. Your appearance, your body type, and your reasoning. This looks mostly like a fairly bog standard tabletop game where it's like, let's determine what we look like and have all that. Usually it means nothing. It's very easy for you to fill in whatever you want there. Not in SCP the tabletop game. Oh no, every single one modifiers. How much do modifiers and not actual modifiers to your skills at all? And then your body type gives you bonus HP, but also a reaction defense, which is your base defense. And then your reasoning gives you more. And they show you again how to do this. Now we finally hit all the basic stuff we don't care about, but we are not done yet. Make your own backstory. Alright, so we have successfully navigated our way through here. And it gets worse somehow. You may, once per gaming session, you roll 1d8 and add that number of tenths to any proficiency that is currently 0. Additionally, ask you to roll a proficiency that is currently 0. You may add to roll 1d6 to add that to the 10th place. This only goes up to 1, though. And here's time required to increase it by the decimal place. By the decimal. Call of Cthulhu uses a system of, if you fuck up a roll, you mark it, and at the end, if you roll under, you increase it a little bit. It's a method for people to let them improve their own skills. It's a little bit natural. You look through it being like, I shot a gun, I missed a few times, but I learned how to shoot my gun better. Oh, hey, I was looking at this ancient lore, and I used that, and I didn't succeed at it, I don't understand it, but I learned a little bit more about it. That's how they'd want to do it. However, this system is the clunkiest, awfulest, terrible system I've ever read, because it is this. It's roll this, roll all of these, increase everything. To raise an ability skill, you must spend experience. Multiply the current level by 10. Just remove the decimal point to get the amount of experience required to raise it by 0.1. So if you want to increase something to 1.8, you must spend 17 experience. And then 18. And then 19. This is the slowest, dullest, most asinine method of doing this. I don't get it. I do not get this game. And there's even good boy points. 2 of them. 2 good boy points. Now, my favorite part. I'm just going to leave this here. And I'm just going to wax philosophically for a moment. Games are valuable for a few reasons. We've played games since the dawn of mankind. It could be something simple, something easy. One of the core things about it is that at the end of the day, a game must be playable when you get it. Even NVIDIA, even EA understands this. It may not be good when it comes out. You might have to buy something to make it good, but at least they give you something playable. This is an entire system that you have put in this game. Now, this is a tabletop game. This is a tabletop role-playing game experience. You buy a book. This is a $40 book, mind you. You bought the book, or $60. You open the book up. You're flipping through the awful-looking pages. And you open it up and there's DLC. $17 if you want to play it physical, or just pay 25 cents to print them out. But then you got to pay the printer. And then you got to pay this. And then you got to pay this. This is sold separately. If it was like a side note, if it was a side note, like a side thing entirely, saying, hey, if you want to do this, this is also how you add the drama card expansion. This is kind of a cool little idea that we currently had. It's not that. It's not that at all. Exertion is tied, and you boost physical attributes. Power boosts your melee, emergency dodge, boost your athletics. You may spend only one to add the ability to your move speed until the end of turn combat. But oh no, we have an entire section in this book, an entire part of this book dedicated to an expansion that you have to buy. If this was an older game, like 2nd edition, 3rd edition, understandable. Everyone's expected to have the SCP drama cards, obviously. It's fine. But it's not. This isn't the book. This is the main book. And drama cards, draw drama cards to do things. And you have to keep them hidden from the director. But the drama cards, I don't have those. But I don't really care either about them, because this is the stupidest mechanic I've ever seen in human history. It's hard to even comprehend of how fucking stupid this game is. Like, it's legitimately the worst thing I've ever had to read. I would rather read Fatal than this, because this is awful. And it's like, but why? But now we get the combat, and oh god, combat is its own giant thing. This is Rift's tier, but not even Rift's tier, because I actually like Rifts. You have your combat rounds, you have your combat actions, your standard actions, non-standard actions, extended actions, free actions. You have your defense score, which is your AC, but it's not your AC. That's the big thing. It's the dodge score, which is rolled, and then the reaction score, which is your base skill. But each of them become your defense score for that specific attack. And then we have momentum bonuses. Because yes, if you are moving up, if you are moving to attack someone, you get a bonus to hit them with your melee weapon. If they are charging you, you too get a bonus to hit them because you're using their momentum. Why is this here? Why? Sidebar notes on these pages are not combat actions, they are additions and annotations for them. Why is it laid out like this? This is so bad. This is what I mean by like the really weird melee system, because melee multiplier of 2. The knife has a base damage of 1d4, an X damage of d4, and an X damage of d4. Therefore, Tony is rolling 1d4 plus 1d4 times 2 equals 3d4 damage. However, you also get, this action requires 1 meter away. Higher than your defense score, alright. Melee multiply and roll that many strength die for your damage. Total amount of strength die rolled for the amount of damage you deal to the target. If you have a melee multiplier of 4, which is actually pretty easy to get, you have a potential of doing 4 to 42 damage Oh, well, here, yeah. That, my friend, is because that's not the point. Uh, who the fuck knows? I don't think they actually got that far when it comes to, like, making this game, because you have these huge amount of defense things. Here's all your reactions. Here's how your ability to analyze, make called shots, and counterattack, and ready, aim, and fire. Each of these have different modifiers to it. And guns have recoil, because this is Delta Green now. And then we have to do damage. We also have car accident damage, lack of oxygen, calculating critical hit damage. You're pretty much playing the MTF, the Mobile Task Force. You're playing these guys. Guys who take down SCPs and sometimes secure and protect them. And that is it. And it's also really easy to die. Ridiculously easy to die. There is even a SCP facet, which if he gets within 1 meter of you, you die. It just kills you outright. Negative HP hit points get the fallen over status. Negative hit points cannot have HP restored through first aid. But remember, this is not an act. This is a sidebar, but it's also an important aspect through here. At the end of each comp, must make a fate plus resist death KO called a death save. Yeah, you have to make death saves in this game. But your CPR is also a method to save critically. Yeah. Guys from following a death save and on a critical fail may attempt CPR as long as their first aid anatomies. Which, again, oh, you can use CPR, but here's also a side note on the entire thing. Then also we also have elementals, and we have mutilations. We have all the mutilations effect, all of which do something, including limb loss, which if you roll a 5 or 6 on a d6, you will instantly die. There's nothing you can do about that. Let's see what some other ones. Oh yeah, you can also become mortal, like a lethal blow. You're just gonna die. You fucked. There's nothing you can do about it. The status effects, all the authorization for all the items, because they don't do this well at all, because what they do is, here's all security level 2 items. Now this could be a fun little section, which is a little bit of lore. Well, you need to be security level this to get these guns. Like, alright, this seems fun. However, the rules are sprinkled in between these poorly. And there's more weapons, and each weapon has a keyword associated with it, and there's different round bursts. Do not double damage for critical hits if you're or your firearms, and you're throwing explosives and your blasts. Yeah, because we also use hexes for this game. Apparently. Who thought this was a good idea? I'm genuinely curious of, like, who the fuck thought this was like a thing we need. And it's like, okay. Alright. Buy everything you feel like. What do you need? Like, why do you need all this? Who knows? Why are you paying $3,000 for a wristwatch? I don't know. Why a glow stick's $20? Who knows? I don't think you do either. Why are pets here? My question is mostly why is this here? And why is this a fucking Microsoft? Yeah, it's Crunchomania, but it's Jank Crunch. And here's also all of the, because you don't use money, this isn't money, you have to use credits. All players get 20% credit by their own costs as loaded gear in the top of each one, but 20% more cost effective to choose starting loadout and purchase all the items individually. But these are money, but it's not. You have to use credits. Credits are different, but the same. And I usually don't harp on how games look or how they're laid out, because I'm not a layout designer. However, this game is laid out terribly, and it's very difficult to read. But oh yeah, we have all the sample character thing, which I'm not even going to bother, because it's like a fucking replay, and it's really dull. Now we finally hit some of the weapons, like a crossbow, a Luga, a Walther PPK, crowbar, survival knives, machetes, a cocktail. And this is what I mean by, it could be cool, saying, hey, these are like authorized equipment for you here, authorized equipment for these people. No, we're in the new rules. These are for higher level people only. I know, yeah, if you max out all of your attributes on D12s, which is pretty hard, you also get completely different things. You get derived attributes for your derived attributes. And why is that in the middle of everything? Who knows? And here's your MTF. Now, the thing is, your MTF is actually a special mechanic in this game. You need to, you have to pretty much create an MTF, which is its own thing. You're pretty much forming a Delta Green squad. Also, here's all the field codes. Remember all these? Ha ha ha! Look, it's so funny. It's so funny. I love it. It's so funny. I don't fucking care. This is all lore shit. Now, finally, we've hit the main meat of the game. SCPs. This is what you want, right? SCPs. Well, thing is, you don't even need to read the QR codes, because half the time the QR codes are nothing. They lead to like Reddit posts or SCP, or the articles on the SCP wiki. And yeah, but it's like, oh, anomalous objects or entities or AoEs from the SCIPs, which has become commonplace slang for SCPs, but it's different. Like, the amount of masturbation that goes into this is actually incredibly interesting. Oh, wait. We went on a magic adventure and we actually found something. This is Fear in the Foundation. This is a completely different game. Yeah, no, this is it. Like, I'm just gonna open this up. Like, Fear in the Foundation. Like, this is just a random another game I found on accident. And I don't know. I haven't looked. I'm gonna use this one for fodder for another curious case of franchise games, just because I'm like, what the fuck? This came out of nowhere. But yeah, no. Here's like an entire different game based on this. I don't know why this exists, but this is money. This is what we get. We also get all our. It's odd because this is like, if you're not in, the odd thing is, if you're not into SCP, this entire section means fuck all to you. Because these are like the SCP wiki things, which you're like, oh well, you gotta poke it, you gotta pry it, you gotta fix it. You gotta see what you can do with it, and this is what you're supposed to do, and like use forklifts and stuff like that. Become forklift certified. And you transport it, all the containment procedures. Now, this isn't just a few pages, mind you. This isn't like a side note. This is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, these are 9 pages. And oh yeah, here's another link to the classification systems, which you have to fill out, mind you. Please scan the QR code link. Because you have to learn all of these. And you have to learn all of these parts. And it's like, who is this game for? Because if you want to get on the idea of this game is for people who don't play RPGs much, this is way too clunky for them. They will not understand. They will get frightened by this, by the amount of numbers, by the amount of different, if and or buts present. Is this game for people who like SCP? Well, yeah, but you're not really dealing with, like, the SCP aspect isn't really a big deal. Like Verikin points out, this is, and if you're for people who want to do it for, it's like very odd. But the one thing that really, the game that this most reminds me of, in a bad way, is Doronai Nui, that Bionicle game we looked at a few weeks ago now. The game being so large and so bloated at that point, which apparently the developer wants to fix. Hi, Lahari. So bloated and huge, but it wasn't really for anybody except people who were in it, the developers, and who wanted to do that. This game feels like that, except worse. Because at least you could, like, that game had some interesting ideas in it. This one doesn't, really. This game doesn't have a good idea in it at all. And yeah, different ammos have different things, and here's the security level 2. Remember, level 1s can buy a Luger, but only these guys can buy a Glock or an M1911. And half these things actually have, like, special mechanics, like the Peacemaker, or, like, the sawed-off shotgun. Why is there... I don't know why this is a thing. It's very strange and very odd, because the way it would be, so let's say I want to hit someone with my katana. Well, here's the thing. This infographic is not theirs. This is shit you can find on the SCP Wiki, written by people who know what the fuck they're doing. These are not. And so I didn't realize how much I adore this art piece. But you get things like grenades and flashbangs. Like, it seems really extensive, but now it's time for more mechanics. Mind you, we haven't hit the SCP section yet. You thought that... Wait, did you really think that when we read the SCP section, that we were in the SCP section? No. We need to deal with anti-memes. Also, examples of SCPs that are anti-memetic in nature include... Get it? Because it's an anti-meme. Get it? Because it can't self-replicate. Get it? Why aren't you laughing? Everyone clap like the monkeys you are who bought this. Clippity clap, clip, clap, clip. And that's the odd thing. I don't get this game. But it's more shit. More things. More grappling hooks, reflex sights, thermal, speed loaders. And more amnesiacs, because that's a thing you need. And here's all the accessible weapons for these guys, like an MP5, P90. What? Okay, we're finally making our way down. We can finally almost make it. Now, this is where you actually get some cool things. Like, oh, cool, a plasma rifle, or it's a phaser. Or a mauler. A Crex VTech? Oh no. SCP-9000. Das Demon. Triple Dragon. Vertical Rocket Launcher. Energy. No, this was the one that I laughed my ass off with. I legitimately laughed for like a good like 2 minutes after I read these. You can have a chainsword, a gunblade, or a psychoclastic katana. What is this game? What is this fucking game? I do not get it. You want a gunblade? Yeah, the gun. That's fucking Squall's gunblade. That's just Squall's gunblade. It's, you look at it, you're like, wait, no. Oh, sorry. Here's a different font from everything else, and here's all of the various guns. 95% of them do impale damage. Okay, so now we're finally... Okay, we're not there yet. Give me one. Okay, I'm just skip through this. Fuck this. I fucking hate all this. New to SCP, new player. Yeah, no, we've hit the GM section 179 pages in, and my sessions don't do this. Please don't. Please. I'm begging you. More SCP plot generators. Cracked locks. SCP creation, because there's an entire system. No, they couldn't, because that's the one everyone knows from Kingdom Hearts. And there's an entire system on SCP creation. Why? And mind you, you have to literally fill out everything from all of these, and every single one of them is its own unique thing. Then you have to assign all the attribute dice. Then you have to enter in all the substats, the reaction defense, the maximum hit points, the move speed, the action turns, the exertion, their devastation points, which is a different mechanic, pretty much acting as their version of reverence, allowing them to break the game. More anomalous properties, which some of them are like this. Kills instantly in any fashion the director chooses. Instantly kills anyone within 1 meter. Cannot be evaded. Extra-dimensional kidnapping. Enjoys pain. Phasing. Phasing. What? What? I'm reading a shit post. This game's a shit post. Yeah, give me 1 second. I need to bring up the I need to get this. I will probably download this song one day, just so I can hit a button to play it, because it's coming up that often. This is what I have to deal with. This is what people paid $30,000 to make. This. Remember, just always remember that this was $30,000 Kickstarter. Like, that's one thing you should always remember. $30,000 went into this game. And some of these are weird, like time manipulation, butterfly effects. But oh yeah, just look at here, an SCP Battles fandom. What the fuck is this? What in God's green earth are we dealing with now? Oh, it's a battle wiki. Hyperverse? What in God? No, 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 bad no pal. We're not going down that rabbit hole. We're not going down the rabbit hole of sadness. Yeah, immortality. There's just immortality in this game. Yeah, it's... Yeah, also, never aged and been alive for 5 or more max dice. Often have... Immortality doesn't actually do anything. It just makes you immortal, and so you can't die. Now, here are all about how to build things, and you can have an option of playing an SCP, which is weird. Now, here's all the samples. Oh, I adore these. SCP-1, Cosmic Top Secret. This is reality destroying, everything will die. This is not something you fight. This is not something you put in the back of the book. This is putting Cthulhu in the back of the fucking book of, goddamn, yeah, no, and it's this very odd thing where it's like you get some of these which are like just cosmically like impossible to deal with. Like these aren't real. And they have sample things. Plague doctors. Here's literally Jess Kane. It's Jess Kane. Here's Abel, but it's like, oh, Abel is... where was the one that I thought was hilarious? Oh yeah, speed boost, enraged state. It'll kill, like half these things will just immediately evaporate you before you even have a chance of doing anything. Because that's the point. It's just like, oh no, look how strong and powerful he is. He's super cool. Super cool. Like it's hard to even give a shit. Because like some of these are like, oh hey, it's ring ding the bell. Here, like this looks cool, I guess, but guess what? You can't fight it, because if you fight it, you're going to die immediately. You will just die. At every time. This thing has 750 HP. There's no way you can ever kill this thing. And yes, some do. And some are like you can actually sort of fight these. Because they only have 175 HP. But some of these are like, this isn't something you encounter. This isn't something you find in the back of the book. Like, why stat it out? Like, why bother even statting it out? And some are like this. The Multiverse Strip Club. Yeah, they had to drop a nuke on it. Why is this in, like, I'm baffled to know, like, why this is in here. That's the thing that always, like, flummoxes me about it. It's like, why even have this in here? Because everything will always be too strong for every player to encounter, and anything that's too weak is usually something that's been already contained or something. Or it's like, this is literally just a time loop. Like, this isn't something like normal people can ever encounter. Well, why bother having it? This is one of the things that always like mystifies me about, like, I want to make an SCP game. But like, do you really want to do this? Do you really want to play this? Like, really, who who wants to play this? Like, Call of Cthulhu, I always understand. Call of Cthulhu. Like, Call of Cthulhu is a game about finding mysterious things and trying to, being out of your depth. That's one of the core ideas. It's, appearing behind a corner and finding a zombie for the first time. It's kind of terrifying. You're like, oh, good God. And, you're kind of shaking with your hands a little bit. You're like, oh, I don't know about this. I'm getting scared. You're people in out of your depth. You're trying to find out about the cult that's trying to eat reality because they decided to use your grandfather's basement as a goddamn house or something. It's also like, I need desperation, please God help. Well, thanks to like Delta Green, it's like the entire point of Delta Green is that like these are the best people in the US in hunting these things. And you're soldiers. You're always on that one last night at the opera moment. You're always on the edge. You're fighting for your lives, and you're fucked off from Delta Green, but you're also always in it. You're always looking over your shoulder. It has that espionage vibe to it, and it's more about trying to contain the mysterious, the odd, the things that don't make sense. But it's always about being out of your depth. SCP always feels like it's not that, because you should feel hopeless in those games at some points, because like we are fighting things that are way out of our league, but we can do it because we have human determination. This one is like, oh, just die. Die. And like, here are some of the kept you waiting, huh? Bounty hunters, like some of these look really weird. Now, these are just a bunch of... Why? Why are these in here? That's my question. Like, why? And here's our sample site, which you have to pay money to actually get all the maps for. You have all the stats, which do look like DeviantArt OCs. I'm not going to lie. These are OCs. Has someone drawn these characters having sex before? Yes. I mean, I'm in this guy. I mean, his arm looks like it's about to bulge out and fight me, but alright. Then we have our basic adventure. So that is the SCP tabletop game. A game that I am mystified about because of how fucking weird it is. And it doesn't feel like it should even be real, but it's something we have to deal with now, and it made $30,000. So that was kind of the main show for today. Now we're going to be looking at just a few odd ducks. And odd ducks are just that, odd. Games that just flummox me about its existence. Such as Survival of the Able. Now, Survival of the Able was a game about survival horror RPG about people with disabilities. Like, alright, that seems somewhat interesting. Kind of weird, but alright, I'm down. I can see it. And the entire idea is Black Death has come to the village, people are succumbing to it. Everyone is zombies, everyone's raising as zombies. However, you're in an almshouse. You are a bunch of affectionately referred to as disabled individuals trying desperately. It's a fudge system. It's based on fudge. It's not exactly a complex game. And there are no physical attributes with sliding scale fudge. Instead, we use the sliding scale of fudge to illustrate how disability is a spectrum. At the heart of the system is 5 senses. Each ranges from non-existent to good. It's interesting ideas. We're doing our job, test forward to plunging you into a setting. This game fascinates me. And it fascinates me because what it's saying is actually kind of interesting. What it's saying. However, this is the second Horseman of the Kickstarter apocalypse not getting funded. And it's a Fate game at its core, and that's something that you kind of gotta deal with. Now, Mr. Wood here, let me see if I can find his site. Well, his big thing is this, obviously. It's accessible gaming quarterly. World's Edge Arena. He does some games, a lot of things like Cypunk. But his big thing is accessibility. That is his big thing. Let me see. Where was his... Where is it? I believe this is his site. Yeah. This is Accessible Games. Now, I'm fascinated by this because he made a game. Pretty much has made his thing, his entire niche, about making games for people who want it, who are things that are accessible. Styling manuscripts, using markup, importing Microsoft, how to keep the things flowing. And he's also the guy who's like, this is what happens for a blind character. It's a bunch of little things that are like, that's kind of interesting. Like, how do you deal with people who can't hear? What do you do with people who can't see? Who are mute but still want to play? How do you deal with these people? How do you kind of integrate them to make sure they have fun? And it's actually, I respect this guy's thing. I respect this man way more than I do the SCP people. I do not respect them in the slightest. I view them as barely human, because that would imply they actually knew what the fuck they were doing. I respect it. He's got his thing, and his particular thing was accessible gaming, and he wanted to make survival of the able. And he made a lot of things. Let's see, we're working with several disabled, unrepresented illustrators, as well professional layout professional whose award-winning game, High Plains Samurai, is accessible RPG PDF to date. Never heard of this game before. We will look at you later, because you look kind of neat. And this is it. Yep, yeah, layouts, illustrators, graphic designs. They were ambitious. They were quite ambitious. And, yeah, he also saw 1980's AIDS epidemic. We're not going to talk about that. He wanted $8,000 for this. He only raised $2,000 with 89 backers. This was back in 2019. And comment-wise, disappointing support. He was planning a relaunch from a year ago. Nothing's come of it. Able relaunched March of 2020. March of 2020. This game's never coming out. It's kind of a bummer if you kind of think about it at the height of things as just a basic concept. This is what all we have. It is a Fate game at its core, and this is a Microsoft Word document. This is what's on its site. It's completely unformatted. And very, very simple. You have all your trait ladders, you're rolling your dice. It's a very simple game, but I wanted to bring this up for one very specific reason. There are a lot of games. There are many games that will not get supported, that can't get supported for a variety of reasons. And sometimes it's for good reasons, sometimes it's for theming. People didn't want it. People will support anything they can immediately understand. Sandy Peterson has said if you fail the Kickstarter, don't try to restart funding. You can retry the funding. You just reduce the value down significantly because people will support you. For example, he got $2,000. If he lowered it down to $2,000, he would probably hit his $8,000 easy. Because the idea is people like to make games. The weird thing about Kickstarter is that people like to support things that are already funded. That's why you see when something does get funded, it rapidly increases. Because people feel more safe, which is one of the issues that I have with Kickstarter, is that people treat it as a storefront. And people use Kickstarter more as a way to facilitate. Exactly, it's set as a 1K, set as something reasonable. But people use Kickstarter as a method to sell the product because they know at certain points people can get away with it. I know recently Silvervine Publishing, they have been on my radar because they do the thing where it's like, oh, we're going to set our goal to like $60, and if when we get $60, but if let's say, but it's like get like one book, it's $30. Like, oh well, we'll make it. Regardless of it, we'll get the money and we'll send it out. What they're doing is, if they get say $100, everyone's going to see 120% funded on Kickstarter. Everyone's going to see it's already overfunded, and people are going to start buying into it more. You also get people who spend an absurd amount of money on nothing. This one, I think people looked at it, and it wasn't something that hopped out immediately to them. It was something that they didn't like, which people like to claim, like, we like supporting diversity, and we like supporting this. People claim that all the fucking time. What people want is buzzwords. These aren't buzzwords. Nobody likes those. You are more likely to get it if you put the good buzzwords in. And you've followed me long enough, knows what those buzzwords are. You all know the buzzwords are things that kind of draw in everybody that you can't not be against, or they're so all-encompassing and broad, it's impossible for anyone to say, like, it's time. Oh boy. Which sucks. That a game like this, which, am I in it? No, it's a fucking fudge game, for fuck's sake. It's fudge. It's fate. This is not exactly an exciting game anymore. It's about a section that they didn't really lean into. It's more about the disabilities, which I respect it, but it's like, brother, please. We know that this isn't going to sell. You know it. I know it. Uncle Willie down the road knows it. This isn't going to sell. No one's going to want to buy this because it's really specific and not really appealing to anybody. And that was the odd thing. And I think it's one of those things, like, we need to remember the failures. We have to remember the failures just as much as we have to remember the critical successes. For every SCP out there who gets funding for making shit, there's a lot of games that don't make it that could be interesting, that we'll never see it. And hell, maybe this would be the game of the year. Maybe this would be the thing that convert me to fudge. Who knows? It'll never come out, though. And that's something that we have to deal with. Sad, isn't it? Tragic, even. But we will look at the third Horseman of the apocalypse, of the kick-pocalypse. Welcome to the Queen's Cavaliers. A project we love, a a project that everyone's in. 590 backers with 19,000 funding, and it only needed a $4,000 goal. This is huge. Look at the artwork is pretty, set in alternate fantasy France. TQC's combat system is flexible and designed to be entertaining. Want to swing on a chandelier, recite epic poem to build style points. Dice pool system. Alright, a lot of cool stuff. Clockwork, a little bit of cogfoppery. 2 classes to create a unique role. 20 classes. My God. Yeah, my God. This seems like a really cool game. So what happened to it? What happened to it? Well, something happened. I'm not even entirely sure what occurred necessarily, but the funding was successful, things occurred, and then gone. I was gonna say this is 6 years old at this point, and it was evaporated, gone, away. Do you even have anything anymore? Looks like you got some stuff. What have you created? Any nominated Wandering Monster High School, free game, Bone White, Blood Red, I'm Pretty Princess, awesome women kicking ass, plus scads of unofficial Gamma World material. So let's... Alright, I mean, she's successfully... Oh, wow, that's not good. Canceled back in 2011. What's this one about? Alright. 24-hour RPG created in 2005. Why a Kickstarter? This is old school Kickstarter. This is some really old stuff where you can get away with barely anything. Better days. But let's see. This Queen's Cavaliers. The website's down. So let's see. What occurred? Yeah, as you can see, sending out refunds for the Queen's Cavaliers. Sending out refunds. Surveys up. No pretty formatting. Future. Yeah, so this is what occurred. Back in 2019, about 4 years after the game was technically funded, reached the conclusion that Kickstarter for Queen's Cavaliers is no longer viable due to my health. Accordingly, refunds have been issued proportionate amount of money each backer pledged for the project. Let's fund artwork, editing other supplement materials, complete and polished level quality I'm comfortable with. Scratch, purposely... let me see. More successful. It went away. Gone. The fluff parts of the core text, stretch goals not working, editing not possible, layout for published game, physical publishing, nothing. And it's 5 years, and apparently it died. No guidelines or undelivered how I should proceed. Returns to backers. Yeah, it was... Okay, actually, we can find it right here. Let's see if we can find the Queen's Cavaliers. I do have a copy. And most of it's not that great. But it was a failed project. The project did not deliver. And this was what we effectively got back in 2015. It was a dice pool system. Very standard, very interesting. And, well, not really a dice pool system. It's kind of hard and difficult. But this is a kind of a testament to probably the curse of Daniel Fox, of course. Thanks, Daniel. But I wanted to go over this one just a little bit. Maybe not go over it extensively. But I wanted to kind of have people understand that there are a lot of projects that fail for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's health, sometimes it's incompetency, like Serpent Sea Games and Kamigakuri. Do not buy Kamigakuri from drive-thru. Steal it. You have all of these different things. Like, honestly, here's the beautiful thing with this game. You could publish this game tomorrow, and, yeah. Honestly, you could publish this game tomorrow and absolutely nobody would give a fuck. People would buy it. But it won't. So the only way to really find these games anymore are to hunt down... effectively, hunt down sections. Determine your social rank, your weapon prowesses, your brigands, your chaplains, and the art's there. It's a game that you want to look through and remember that things can occur, and interesting, unique projects do happen, but many do not. Many die before they are able to even breathe, which sucks. And as said, sometimes you have to learn from your failures. And this was one of those. It was not really, actually, I don't think that's a proper way of even saying it. I don't think this game's a failure. This is a 129-page document. I'm not going to go through it because I'm already tired, but this is a 129-page document that is done. You can play this game if you want to. The only thing that's really kind of not good is the formatting, but we also just saw the SCP game. Honestly, like, this is fine. It's a play test, but it's perfectly playable. You can, not gonna say it's good, but you can play it. But it kind of serves as a method for you to kind of understand that games like the Queen's Cavaliers appear and die. And we have to remember murders like these. And I would like to see this game get made. I would like to see it happen. I don't think it ever will, though. And in case you were wondering, no, I won't do anything like that. I won't remake it or something. I already have my own game in that regard. Go buy Projednia Kobieta. Projednia Kobiet. There you go. Polish. But I find it fascinating. And I would like to introduce people to things that die. Talking about dead things. Talking about the corpses of those we dislike. No more PDS, but we're not looking at PDS now. We are looking at a few games that'll never come out. This is Third Act Publishing. Now, I came across Third Act Publishing when I was looking for a Magical Girl game. This is the first thing that pops up. If you type in, I want to do Magical Girl TTRPG. First thing that pops up usually is Domina Magica, Magical Girl RPG. Alright, and then Girl by Moonlight, but I mean, that's by Evil Hat, and they suck. Alright. This game about, it's funded. 47,000 out of a 10,000 goal. Delivery 18. Oh, I wonder where it is. Curious Game. Arguably, that's what Kickstarter Oddness was supposed to be that at the beginning of Barak. It just didn't pan out. It's hard to find them because Kickstarter doesn't list any of the failures on any of like their anything really. And if I were to go to like Curious Case of Dead Games, the unfortunate reality of that assertion is that's all I do, Barak. Outside of a handful of games, none of these are successful. None of these, no, not a single one of these are like really super popular or have like the impact needed. The only one, probably of all of these, Gear Krieg is popular here. Masks is popular. Broken World is popular by inertia. Tenra is popular by inertia. Ryutama is popular. But a lot of these, no. A lot of them are. A lot of these are dead corpses that I try to introduce to people. I am the asshole who goes to the graveside and puts the single rose down on the grave because people won't remember them. But this is Domina Magica. Now, if you're seeing this after 9/6/2016, you missed the Kickstarter. Don't worry, you can still back this project. Third Act Publishing. Wait, like 2016? Man, this is a really old one. Why is it two whole years of development? Man, that's insane. What's going on? What's going on? Launched 2018. Then why is this here? Well, my friends, that's because Third Act Publishing is a corpse. Here. Third Act Publishing has actually done a few games, and Emily Reinhardt here, not actually who we think she is. Part owner of Third Act Publishing. Alright, social media manager for Smirk and Dagger. Now, this person is not necessarily a real person. What she is a person who works for, let me see, Titan, I believe that's the name of it. Yes, right here. She's a part owner of this man's company, Jim McClear. He is the owner of Third Act Publishing, small press indie developer, this man right here. Jim McClear, that name sounds a little bit familiar, because he made a game way back in the day called Satanic Panic. Now, of his 3 games that he's made, Satanic Panic has never come out. Reach of Titan has yet to come out. Domina Magica, part of his company, has not ever come out. So I did a little bit of looking. Actually, I'm going to put you off to the side so I don't... I did a little bit of looking, a little bit of digging. And this man is notorious for not going on his Kickstarter. So Satanic Panic was one of the older ones. This came out back in, God, when was it? 2016. And he's still updated. And he has got nothing done. Nothing of this game is done. And that's really weird to think about, isn't it? Really weird. How you have these giant chunks of game that just aren't done. Met with layout artists today, went through everything, working as a project as of today. The game rules and enemy combat sections have been edited. It's been 5 years. The money is gone. The money is gone. There's no money. The baits on what I saw online was that Reach of Titan, which is his other game that he made, was a method for him to fund the rest of Satanic Panic, which will never come out. Because he blasted past the stretch goal. He's 20 grand over, and people gave him $57,000 over. $57,000. Third Act Publishing, and he is apparently still working on this, but it's 2 years late. And let's look at the comments. This is going to be, let's see, glad progress. There was no progress. Yeah, things aren't. Back to the weekly update, completely revised the craftable items section. There's these huge sections of these games that aren't being made. These are older games. I get, man, you're working on stuff. What's going on? What's the update on Domina? Last one is respectable position. I'm now looking forward to my refund as it is promised, but I will no longer back project by this creator again. About refunds she promised. My golden rule is never back a project. For the terms of service, updates. As of April 19th, as of 4 months ago, the first draft has been completed of this game. Sample PDF from my amazing artists, and what this is, what I've learned about third act publishing. Actually, let me see if I can go back to the Wayback Machine. What I've learned about third act publishing over time is that third act publishing has a very bad tendency of not following through. They make these big promises, they make these big ideas, and then it's gone. Evaporated like it's nothing. And Jim McClure, I'm actually in the Reach of Titan Discord, and apparently, let me see if I can find the exact post from him. The one game that he did, Satanic Panic, is being handed over to another company or another person who's doing it, which is really strange. It's like, why are you... What's up, brother? He's giving a... Who, mind you, that company is also going to launch a Kickstarter for that. Now... yeah, that's not a good sign. Yeah, what's the latest on it? Squarespace. It's a Squarespace one. Here we go. Now, these were the games that he did, and this is like, oh, well, what's going on? Now, from what I've gathered, now this is an incomplete history, Jim makes Satanic Panic. No, Jim starts Satanic Panic. Panic back in about 2016. Okay, funded, cool. Then there are delays on Satanic Panic. He misses his goal. A few times. Everything's bad. He blames his work. Blames work. But Jim starts Reach of Titan. Everyone's like, okay, that's kind of neat. That's kind of an interesting little factoid there. This is back in, when did he even start this? Let's go back. We got to go back to the past. Oh my god. Please, Jim, please. God, I hate Kickstarter's website. This website's designed by a monkey. Back in 2019, he makes in 2019. However, something gets really weird. Now, Roll20 in Burn Bright. Have anyone ever heard of this game before? Original science fantasy role-playing game. Exclusive to the Roll20 site. You can only really play this game on Roll20. Original game. Now, what gets weird, and let me see if I can find... Pretty much, Jim worked on this game, which was really odd, because he did that in the middle of everything else. Where's the thing that says he worked on this? Because I know he worked on it. Yeah, one of the authors is Jim McClure. Disappeared on the RPG scene, leaving 2 Kickstarter campaigns unfulfilled. Okay. So, Reach of Titan is delayed. Blames work again. Yeah. Leaves work again. So, Jim makes Burn Bright. Burn Bright for roll 20. This is not done. This is not done either. However, he also says he's delayed on Reach of Titan, and he blames work. Then he makes Burn Bright. Now we are where we are today. No, that would be Far West. Oh yeah. This is a very bizarre situation with this guy. Because he has lied repeatedly about doing things where it's really hard to take anything he says seriously. And even that, I think the only reason Domina Magica even got funded because it wasn't his name on it. It was hers, which is his layout designer. And that's why, like, I saw this, I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it 2016? Because they copy and pasted the Satanic Panic one. That's all they did. And welcome to this. And there he is. It's Jim. It's James. It's our boy, Jim. Wow, look. It's him. I published several of my own RPGs. Published several of his own. It's great. Yeah, it's like this very odd thing where you're looking at it and like all these different things, and Third Act Publishing, so big. This is Third Act Publishing. These are the 3 things that they've made, and he has delivered none of them. Absolutely none of them. And that's really bizarre to me. This is why I kind of call Jim here the fourth horseman of Kickstarter Apocalypse. It's the undelivered. Jim here is the undelivered. A man who creates and gets money and then spends it on nothing. Jim has made all of these cool ideas and he updates them slowly. And it's been 3 years. And we've gotten a first draft. A draft. Not an actual game. A draft of a game. But he also works on other things because of his popularity on Kickstarter. Now you're starting to see something a little bit funkalicious. And that being that he is a grifter. And that's what this is. He's a grifter. And do I think these games will ever come out? Do I think Satanic Panic will ever come out? Absolutely not. Satanic Panic will not come out. Because it will never be what it wants to be. Unless this other company does it. But he also never explained who else bought it. It was just someone else did. And the thing is, he's backed other games. And you also have some accusations that he is taking the money for things like wrestling classes. And it's like, what? Wrestling classes? Or he's burnt it on like just himself without actually improving anything. Exactly, the Interface Zero guy. Now, that's the weird thing, Oric, is that I do not believe. I think he sold the rights to it. That's the thing. I think he sold the rights. So when that one comes out, it will be a completely different company making it because he said he couldn't do it anymore, which is odd. I was actually talking with Varric about this the other day a little bit, but I don't like taking on more projects than I can at any one time. You know, people look at my list and be like, wow, Notepad, you have all these huge games. Why are you working on them all at the same time? Because I'm really not. I take one game at a time. I work on this game, finish it, work on this game, I finish it, work on this one, finish it. I take my time with each of them, my projects. And once it's done, I kind of leave it there until I do a redux on it. Jim here is one of 2 categories. I think Jim does one of 2 things. He gets an idea, he writes down the idea, he makes the idea into like a good pitch, and then sells it to people. He's selling an idea, not an actual game, which is something very common on Kickstarter, which I hate. That's why I refer to him as the third horse, the fourth horse. He is the ultimate evil when it comes to Kickstarter games. The idea of selling the idea rather than selling a product. You are not selling anything of importance. You are selling the concept that you are going to make something. You are relying on a person to maybe make something. And he'll never get fun. Because the thing is, he's not going to offer refunds. Because he's working on Satanic Panic, man. He's working on it. It's never going to come out. It'll come out eventually. 6 years later, it might. 7 years, 8 years, 9 years later. Half these games probably are old already. They feel old. And I find him and his very smug-looking face, I find fascinating. Because he is the ultimate problem, I think, with the industry now. One of the major problems, anyway, of selling ideas, not selling people. Not selling product. Yeah, no, again, soon TM. It's going to come out eventually, maybe one day later. You can never question him, because you're just a bad person if you question him. Hell, you get things like this guy, like, oh, that's a risk, we all take it. My money lost, I make no expectation. I was like, oh well. And anytime I see this super backer, it's like I immediately am like, it's hard to take you guys here because you put so much, and it's like people have dumped a lot of time and effort into it. Mostly when it comes to like Domina Magica. Like, what's some of the higher tiers that people backed? Okay, the $100, 24 backers there, 122 backers, 125, 3 backers for $250 each. No one for 10,000. No, thank God no one did that. Jesus freaking Christ. Satanic Panic. What was some of the higher ones here? Oh, 5 people dumped 250 here. 14 people dumped 125 into it. What's with Reach of Titan? Like 250, 20 people dumped $250 into this. 250. Yeah, it'll come out soon, right after we get, the new one. Like 125, $100, $80. This is a PDF version and a hardcover for $80. What was he selling here? Was he selling liquid Coke? Good God. But he's not selling anything. Own mechanical system, designed specifically. Now, anytime you look at a Kickstarter, I want you to find the system. That is the first thing you should do. Find what they're selling. Every character pool of 6 D6s. Use complete their actions. These dice between 2 zones on the character sheet. Available and exhausted. This doesn't give us anything. We're not working with anything. We need more. We're building settlements. And but that's the idea. You're not supposed to. Hell, it even links to a dead website at this point. It's... Hi, Jim. Yeah, oh, wow, look, everyone. We found her! Exactly. It would be really cool if we could actually get money from these people. But, no. Oh, we got Grant Ellis. Grant Ellis is going to be writing something for it. Luke Ellis is going to be. Dan O'Hannon. Velvet Generation. Don't worry, we got all these people going to be working with us. Every single one of them. Look at our stretch goals. It's going to be great. More contributing authors. It's going to be great. You don't understand. That's the point. No, combining the various documents and assessing what they need to do with the project. 24. Yeah, I don't think this game will come out, but that's kind of my summation of the shit that I look at, and that's kind of the summation of the wonderful world of Kickstarter backers. But because I'm feeling Gucci, let's take a look around. Let's see what we can find. Maybe we can find something interesting. So, give me 1 second as I desperately attempt to navigate Kickstarter's fucking terrible website. Holy shit. So we're gonna go to games. We're gonna see what we can find. I did find one beautiful disaster area of a game yesterday, and Varric and Salmon, were there when we found this, and it was my noggin was jogging because it was some A-class jank. Let's see, where are you? I believe the greatest tabletop game ever created by man. No other game means anything. You want to play Heroes Unlimited? Get out of here. You want to play Rest? Get out of here. You want to play Mutants and Masterminds? What are you, a pleb? You have not heard of Timelines, the superhero RPG, the most immersive tabletop RPG of all time. And it's the first superhero RPG to attempt this level of immersion or customization. First one, only one. Now, many unique immersion opportunities never existed and will exist, can be tooled to game in this. Many player characters have been created. Many. This makes the timeline system the most unique and free-spirited tabletop RPG system on the planet. The planet. I don't know what else you can really say. It's the greatest game ever created by man. With your funding, will be the best superhero ever released for tabletops. No real competitors for this unique experience. You can play any type of creature conceivable and have superpowers. What else do you need? There are narrative-driven time sequences called storylines. Now, let's see some of the cool characters that we have. X-Fox, a trademark superheroic fox. Alamantian, a tentacle-laden alien with no will but to destroy humanity. A literal portrait of Charlemagne. Ronald Reagan, hip-hop robot programmed to fight crime and dance funky. A demon-possessed cop car. Oh yeah. So, how much does it cost to fund this game? You get 27 days ago, 9 backers, $9 each. I think someone isn't dedicated enough to the project. Now, let's see what we gotta do. $10. Special thanks. $100. Pre-release playtest version. He changed it at least. Oh, our boy here. Mind you, he changed these from last night. Last night he had one tier, it was $200. But now you can pay only $10 and get a special thanks to the book. Please ignore commenters who don't seem to know that you come to Kickstarter to kickstart your projects. I need your help to make this game a reality. The questions have been asked respectively will be answered soon. Thank you for your support. Everyone's like, the fuck? Every single person. It's like, what? Because, yeah, it was originally $200. for nothing. You got to look at their trademarked character creation system. This is the picture. It's in Calibri 10-point font. Again, this is Calibri 10-point font that it's a fucking ODT file in LibreOffice. He's changed. I mean, I gotta give him credit. He did change it. This is like kind of the absurdity that you need to go far in this life. Okay, let's see. What there wasn't actually any updates, so he posted this today. Let's see. Manual provides unifying catch-all mechanics such as attribute rules. Very important. Every superpower in Origin premise has ever been represented so that any superhuman character. Okay, foundation. How you got your powers. Powers. Weakness. Allergy. 3 planned adventure books, sensitive political topics such as forest fires, gun control, the opioid epidemic, immigration, reproductive rights, and privacy. What the hell is this game? I need to see this exist. Like, I want to see this I want to see this game come to fruition. It never will, but I want to see this man's just pure fucking big dick energy. This is a man I can respect. I appreciate your support. I want you to know that my game, I need your time because my budget and time are low. I'll answer all your questions. As far as the rest, there aren't really much to worry about. Hiring competent people and going into the playtest fully prepared are the most important things. I have plenty of experience producing videos. Oh, it is. It's a series. He wants to make comic books out of it. This is effectively what it is. I am fascinated by this. Like, this has to be a shit post, but it's like, I have no idea who this guy is. He has done nothing except he calls himself River Reynolds, even though his name is Doug. That's what he looks like. He's only created, this is the only thing he's ever created. He has no comments, he has nothing. Yeah, this is his only thing. It's really baffling. Really is. I am just completely flummoxed about this game. And I love it. Need it. I need this game. We cannot click on this right here. I adore the Mexicans. It's all Mexicans who do these. I think it's like one guy who's like has got a 3D printer and a dream. Yeah, clicked on this the other day. There's just boobies everywhere on that. I'm like, oh god, my eyes. I can't. Oh no. But a lot of board games, nothing to jump out. This one kind of threw me for a loop because it's a fucking LibreOffice document. And I'm like, nobody's doing this, right? No one is doing it. No, they are. We do what we do. A lot of board games these days. Anything fun and exciting here? Probably not. But it's... Anytime you go through Kickstarter, I always want you to remember... yeah, fuck. I always want you to remember that everything here... most won't succeed, but what does succeed is important. But I also want you to remember that Kickstarter is not the problem. I think that's one of the big things I always want to kind of get across to people. Kickstarter isn't an issue. It never was an issue. It's just a method for you to get something. It is a method for... Actually, I've heard these guys before. It's a method for people to get something across. Kickstarter itself is not the problem. I think a lot of people actually blame Kickstarter for things. Like, oh, well, it's Kickstarter's fault that this happens. Or, you know, it's Kickstarter's fault that this happened. No, not really. Kickstarter is not at fault. Kickstarter is the ambivalent, you know, mega god above everything. He does not give a shit. What is the people? It's the people who do things. Those are always the individuals that you have to worry about. Because there's a lot of Jim McClures. There's a lot of Onyx Paths out there. There's a lot of people who abuse the systems to make sure that you don't get what you want, or if you do, to manipulate the system to steal people's money. And that's what it is sometimes. Sometimes it's literally just a scam. And people get scammed. It happens. Sometimes there is no money to give back. Such popular ones such as Swordsfall, which we went over yesterday. Swordsfall will never come out. That game is not real. But no one who backed it will ever get their money back because the game is being worked on next time. Don't worry, the game's coming out. It's right here. Look at it. The game's out. It's not what you wanted. It's not what I promised, but it's out. Let's see. All right. Okay. What's the? Tell me about it. What are you? I've seen you before. Oh God, they're Canadian. Oh no. Pixie role-playing adventures. All right. Worms, dragon role-playing. Demon City looks like to be that kind of generic Asian fantasy. Your box sets. All right, I'm down. This is fine. It's what else have you done? I could have swore you've done some things. Again, we got that. Oh, they're the ones who did Big Eyes, Small Mouth. I knew that name looked familiar. Why in God's name are you doing this? Strategy board games. Anime 5e, which is... People shit on Anime 5e. Yeah, you may not like it, but this is what you paid for. Also, people shit on Anime 5e. Anime 5e is good. If you want 5e stuff. If you just want more options for 5e stuff, it's pretty damn good for it. If you want like a real game, it's not. But it's not supposed to be a real game. Don't think about it like that. But I want Kickstarter to be better. In an ideal, beautiful world of ours. In a gorgeous, wonderful existence out there in the space place. I would like there to be like a dedicated website for just tabletop stuff. That is Kickstarter. I would love that. Because there would be some more protections for it. There would be more things about it to make sure that people actually deliver product, to make sure that you actually have to kind of give something. But we don't live in that reality now, do we? We live in Clown Town, who goes, when everyone gets their little nose out and go honk honk because it's clowns and nothing makes sense. And that's the sad part about things, I think that's kind of one of the tragedies of Kickstarter at the end of the day, is that good games get buried. Well, we'll use our four horsemen analogy. Shitty games get made because they have an IP behind them. SCP. Interesting games get shot in the fucking head because it doesn't appeal to the masses as much. Survival of the able. Interesting games fail because the creator themselves is unable to follow through. In which Again, we end up with things like Queen's Cavaliers, but I give them a little bit of leeway because they're actually issuing refunds. It's a health thing. I can't stop them. And then you get people like Jim McClure, the final horseman of this apocalyptic green nightmare, which is people who sell promises and don't fulfill them. All four of those things are problems. But there are other issues. And I can wax and lament as much as I can, but I'm just one dude. I'm just an asshole on the internet. That's what I'll always be. And I would like to believe that one day things will get better. But I also understand that things getting better is a rare sight. So let's laugh at itch.io and see what's on. Oh, sweet gee, what the? Oh, I don't like this. Wait a second. Wait a second. In the time of monsters, 10 USD, white sheets with nothing on them, community copies that I can't get anymore, $10 to draft. Oh no. 8 classes, 2 dozen stat blocks. What? Oh, a blood-soaked hero's vying for power at the end of the world. It's inspired by Norse mythology. Lancer. Bah, bah, bah. Everything is Lancer. I don't hate. I think people get an idea that I like hate Lancer. I don't. I just don't care. It gets tiring. Okay, yeah, these guys have done some things. And this is interesting. Looks like they actually have kind of like some stuff. They have stuff, which is something I can respect. Like Wander Home, which is a PBTA game. That's just a LARP. Oh, god damn it. Ugh. LARPing is bad. Stop it. Cease. Silence. I do not wish to be here anymore. Let's see. Icon sucks. We went over that the other day. Goblin cleaning crew. A lot of nothing. A lot of Morkborg stuff as usual, which itch.io is barely is a fucking meme, if you want to be honest. Like, this is a meme, and always will be a meme. But I think I'm going to call it there for today. My name is Notepad Anon, and this was the curious case of Kickstarter Oddness. Games that deserve... Some that deserve more, some that deserve their head on a pike, and others that just confuse the shit out of me. But I wish that we could do more with these. I wish that we could see better things come out, but inevitably we have to deal with the shit that is created. So... yeah, a lot of things on the internet. Ah, god damn it. Yeah, no, if you... Actually, what I should do is, let's see. So, there might be a stream later tonight. One thing, that might be a stream later tonight, which will be going over me fixing Tabletop online a little bit more. But on Monday, if things go according to plan, and people don't decide to pay me money, which apparently one person wants to do, we'll start working on Wolves, Sheep, and Shepherds Deluxe Redux. And it's going to be cleaning. I'm going to be honest with you with that one. It's going to be a lot of cleaning. There's a lot of little stuff to make sure that the game works properly. I'm estimating that to be a week, at most. From there, we can move on to Iron Hunter, which is going to be a little bit longer, but I think it's going to be... that's going to be a fun project. Then we have to deal with anime bullshit, which I still need the people. You people. Yes, you. I can see you right now. I'm living in your walls. To help me with Notepad's Naval Adventure, because I need to make a... I need to find an anchor for that. Because right now, we have the Mecha Mizume genre, literally just Kantai Collection, or whatever the hell Azur Lane is. So, if you have any suggestions, feel free to tell me in my Discord server. It's... yeah, I think like 90% of you are already in there. But... always know that this is a place. Oh, God. If you want to talk about anything, if you have any other suggestions, feel free to throw it my way. I'm always available and always willing to see new and exciting things that are usually bad. Because you people only want me to look at bad things because you hate me. But thank you all, and I will catch you all on the flip side. I'm away.